great product leaders, know the value of great feedback, know how to ask for it, and model the behavior for their people. What if we gave you a quick 8-minute video to learn how to do this for yourself and to teach it to your team so you can try today? Coming up next is one of our videos that we use in our course to help coach people how to use our techniques in the real world. All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our Pro Tips video series where we show you the curriculum in action. Today, I am joined by our principal product manager here at Tacit Edge, Oliver Hankinson, and she and I are going to walk you through a real life, super simple feedback session that you can try right now. Oliver, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Super excited.
All right, so I'm going to introduce the session and then we're going to jump right into it if that's okay with you.
Yes.
Cool. So in this scenario, Oliver and I are peers. We are collaborating on a project together. So we're two product managers, relatively senior in an organization, and it really matters that we're in lockstep. But I have some experience in this subject that sometimes in a room, I can be a little overpowering. And I know this about myself because I've been living with this my whole life. So I know that I need to check this behavior in myself. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to ask Oliver how this is going for us, so I can make sure that I'm doing everything that I can to create an environment to which Oliver feels not just as my equal, but she gets equal airtime in meetings to share her ideas because they're incredibly valuable. So I'm going to kick things off just by letting Oliver know what we're going to do. Oliver, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I know it's kind of nerve-wracking to get a meeting invite that says feedback, so I really appreciate you taking the plunge in this conversation with me as we're going to talk about some stuff that's a little uncomfortable, but I genuinely want you to know how much your thoughts and opinions matter to me about how we're collaborating. So I'm just going to go out on a limb here and do something that is, like I said, I'm not really great at this because I'm relatively new at it. And I'm sure maybe are you as well? Is this something that you've done before?
Never in a peer-to-peer scenario. So this is going to be new for me as well.
Cool. All right. Well, let's fumble in the dark a little bit together, if that's okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
Okay. So as I said, we're peers. And it really matters to me that we're collaborating effectively, setting a great example for our teams. And I know sometimes a subject matter that we are working in meetings, I can get really excited and then I get carried away and I can take over the room. So with that being said, and I know that about myself, what would you like to see more of or less of from me as we're collaborating going forward?
Yeah. So the big thing for me is I know you have the expertise in this subject matter that I don't really have. And for me, that's an exploration, which means I'm going to ask a lot more questions because I don't know. What I really would like to see from you is I feel at times like I don't have a voice because I either get interrupted or talked over. And I would like the space to be able to be curious and discover what you already know. Yeah.
Oliver, thank you for that. I really appreciate your candor. And I know it takes a lot of courage to tell me something that, you know, that I've acknowledged, but it's still difficult for people to hear. And I really appreciate that you would still be honest with me. It really matters. So I'm going to ask you now just a couple more clarifying questions so we can get really specific. What does holding space for you in this meeting look like for you? What could I do more of?
Well, I think the first thing would be when I ask a question, I would prefer if you weren't the first person to answer it. The reason why is because I would like for the whole group and team to come to the realization that you already have together. I am conscious that this feedback I have might not be unique to me. So give space for other people to be the first to respond would be, I think, thing number one. And thing number two would be, I would really like it if a question is asked in the group for you to give me the space to try to answer it. I understand that I might not be able to answer it as well as you can, or perhaps as correctly as you can. But again, that is a learning. And if you do answer a question, if I defer to you or it's just the natural flow, maybe at the end you say, is there anything you would like to add? So making sure that we appear as peers when it comes to the thought and the leadership in actual word and action.
I love that. Thank you so much for being really specific. That is incredibly helpful for me. And I love that it's something we can try together. So as we move forward over, say, like the next few weeks, how long should we go before we check in on this again? Because I'm going to try a couple things and you're probably going to see me try a couple of things. And if I'm getting closer to doing it better, holding that space, how would I know?
Oh, great question. I think there's two ways in which we can do this. One is every interaction where we are in a room together, where previously I would have had these concerns, whether it is a meeting with our dev team, whether it's a senior leadership meeting. I think point in time feedback is valuable. So if you've tried something and I've noticed it, I would like to DM you and say, what I think I saw and how I felt about it. I also would like to have, more standard touch points, just to make sure that we are working well together. And if there's something you need of me, I can also give that. So I think that point in time feedback after every interaction, I will initiate that through Slack. And then after that, I would really like a weekly sit down with you. We may or may not have something to talk about, but I would like to know that we have that space.
Awesome. That's so many great ideas there. So I'm going to take away and just to reflect back to what I think I'm hearing. Let's have a quick thumbs up, thumbs down at the end of every meeting. If you could just give me a quick DM, let me know how that was for you. Better, the worse, the same. The truth really matters. So don't be afraid that you may hurt my feelings. It's better for me to know in the moment if I'm getting closer to an interaction that really brings out the best in this collaboration. And also I'll get some time in the calendar then for our weekly check-in so that we can just talk about how the week was and make sure that we're in lockstep. Does that sound okay for you?
More than okay. I really appreciate you taking the time, and yeah, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome. Again, thank you, Oliver. I really appreciate your candor. All right, folks, that was it. Okay, it is as simple as that. Simple questions. I had them written down. I had them on my screen and I was just reading them as I went. The insights I just got from Oliver were invaluable for me, especially because of the place that I am in my career. I know what I've gotten feedback on in the past. So it was easy for me to open that door for her to say, I know this is an issue for me. If you have some comments on this one, or perhaps she would have swung open another door and said, actually, I haven't noticed that, but there's this other thing that I want to talk to you about. So again, with these weekly one-on-ones, we can introduce these conversations and again, go to the next activity, which is the start, stop, and continue. This is something I could do with Oliver in our weekly check-ins. Just say we put up on a whiteboard when we're sitting down, things together that we want to stop doing, things we want to start doing, and things that we want to continue doing. This helps us keep this feedback conversation ongoing. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. How was that? That was a real live example of how we take practicing into the real world. And we give that safe place to practice without judgment and with coaching and education. Could you use more of that for yourself or your teams? We teach product management for real humans operating in the real world. It's proven, equitable, repeatable, and scalable. Come find out more at tacitedge.ca.